All right, picture this. You wake up one morning and you are stupid rich. The birds are singing, your stocks are soaring, and life is absolutely perfect. Then the sun sets, you go to bed, and you're completely broke. Now imagine that's not just you, that's the entire country. Meet America. In 1929, he's this loud, obnoxious, invincible guy at the party convinced he's the center of the universe. And in one single day, this guy manages to lose the equivalent of $200 billion. 200 billion? It just, poof, vanished. There was no war, no alien invasion, no one accidentally sat on the big red button. It was just one giant national whoopsie. So what the hell happened? How did the world's biggest economy, the supposed it guy, suddenly trip, fall, and faceplant in front of the entire world? Oh, to get that you have to see the party. The absolute rager that came right before the crippling, world-ending hangover. Welcome to the Roaring Twenties, and meet the host of the party, Roaring Rick. This guy is the 1920s economy. He's wearing a pinstripe suit, he's got a champagne glass that never empties, and he's doing the Charleston dance on top of a grand piano. The Great War is over and factories have switched gears. They stopped making tanks and started pumping out toasters and vacuum cleaners and those brand new magic boxes called refrigerators that finally told the sad, dripping icebox to get lost. The vibe was electric. Literally. Cities were lighting up for the first time, and the New York skyline was shooting up so fast you'd think it was on steroids. Henry Ford's assembly line was spitting out Model T cars faster than you can say traffic jam. What used to take 12 hours to build now took 90 minutes. They were like little black metal beetles, and they were breeding, flooding every street and creating entire new industries. You need steel for the car bodies. You need rubber for the tires. You need oil for the gas. You need glass for the windshields. Roaring Rick wasn't just growing the economy, he was revving it. And what's a party without music? Meet the radio. By 1929, 10 million homes had one. It was the brand new Wi-Fi of the 1920s, beaming jazz music directly into your living room. It was loud, it was chaotic, and nobody fully understood how it worked, but who cares? Life was a movie and everyone was a star. Roaring Rick was on fire, and he promised the good times would never ever stop. But wait a minute. How is everyone affording all this shiny new stuff? The cars, the radios, the refrigerators? Oh, that's the best part. That's where we meet the party's first little mascot. We'll call him Mr. Debt. He's adorable. Just a small, fuzzy, harmless-looking little creature. See, along with toasters, America also invented buy now, pay later. Want that fancy new radio? Just put it on installment. Want that Model T so you can look cooler than your neighbor? Finance it. Want a vacuum cleaner to suck up all the glitter from last night's party? Just let little Mr. Debt handle it. You can pet him now, and you only have to feed him later. Banks thrilled with this new game were handing out these installment plans like free candy to anyone with a pulse. It was the financial equivalent of saying, "Sure, I'll marry you" on the first date. And every time someone financed a car or a radio or a washing machine, little Mr. Debt got just a little bit bigger. But look at him. He's so cute. What could possibly go wrong? Now, if consumer debt was the free beer, the real VIP room, the place with the hard drugs and the flashing lights, that was Wall Street. And here we meet the party's main hype man, Mr. Market. This guy is a fast-talking salesman. His eyes are spinning like pinwheels, and he's got one simple slogan that he screams at the top of his lungs: it only goes up. Buy now, get rich, it only goes up. The stock market stopped being a place to patiently invest in good, solid companies. Oh no, it became a casino. A glorious, glittering casino where everyone was a genius and everyone won. People were pouring their life savings into it. Your barber wasn't just cutting your hair, he was giving you hot tips on American steel.
Railroads.
The shoeshine boy would buff your shoes and tell you which railroad stock was a can't-miss investment. A bellboy famously told a Vanderbilt to dump his railroads and go all in on pencils. People were literally quitting their boring jobs as accountants to just sit and stare at the ticker tape all day, watching themselves get rich. Between 1924 and 1929, the Dow Jones average quadrupled. Why were all these companies suddenly 4 times more profitable? Who cares? Don't be a nerd. Fundamentals are boring. Profits are for spreadsheets. We're talking about vibes. The line is going up and so is my self-esteem. Companies got in on the joke too. They set up holding companies that owned other holding companies, which in turn owned absolutely nothing. It was just layers and layers of nothing, like a corporate turducken built on pure uncut stock hype. Okay, stop. Stop the music. This right here. This is the O moment. This is the single most important part of the party. This is the jet fuel that turned a bonfire into a tactical nuclear explosion. It's called margin, and it's where we meet our final and shadiest character, Mr. Margin. He's the guy in the dark corner of the party wearing sunglasses indoors, and he smells like cheap cigars. He's a loan shark, but for rich people. Here's how his racket works. Let's say this is you. You're a little stick figure and you've got $10. You want to get in on this stock market party, but $10 is $10. You can't buy much. This is when Mr. Margin slithers over. He puts a slimy arm around your shoulder and says, "Hey kid, I like your style. You look like a winner. Tell you what, here's 90 bucks of my money. Go nuts." So now you take your $10, you add his $90, and you buy $100 worth of stock in, let's call it Dog Hats Incorporated. It's a company that makes hats. For dogs, it's a can't miss. Now let's say Dog Hats is a hit. The stock goes up just 10%. Your $100 investment is now worth $110. You decide to cash out. You sell the stock. You pay back Mr. Margin his 90 bucks, and what are you left with? $20. Let's rewind that. You started with $10. You ended with $20. You doubled your money on a measly 10% gain. You didn't just win, you're a financial god. You're a genius. You're the new Warren Buffett. And everyone was doing this. Your barber, your butcher, your dog's hat maker. What could possibly be the problem with this flawless genius money printing system? Oh, don't worry about that. We'll get to that later. For now, the party is raging. Get back to dancing. And meanwhile, in the corner, that cute little pet Mr. Debt. He's not so little anymore. He's now the size of a grizzly bear. And he's starting to look really, really hungry. A few people, just a few, tried to be the designated driver. There was this one grumpy economist, a guy named Roger Babson. He stood up on a chair in September 1929 and basically yelled, "The party's over. A crash is coming and it's going to be terrible." You know what Wall Street did? They laughed at him. They booed him off the stage. Roaring Rick and Mr. Market literally told him to go touch grass and threw money in his face. The music got louder. The champagne flowed faster. Because this party was special. This one was never ever going to end. Right. October 29th, 1929. Black Tuesday. This is when the music stopped. But it didn't just stop. It was the sound of a record scratching so hard it snapped the needle, shattered the vinyl, and set the entire turntable on fire. Remember Mr. Market, the hype man screaming, "It only goes up." He's not screaming that anymore. He's pale. He's sweating bullets. He's hyperventilating into a paper bag. And now he's screaming two new words. Sell, sell. But wait, if everyone is selling, who's buying? Exactly. The ticker tapes that printed stock prices couldn't keep up. They just spat out red numbers like they were possessed. The entire market performed a flawless 10-meter dive headfirst onto concrete. Phones rang off the hook. Men in expensive suits fainted. One guy reportedly had a heart attack, recovered, looked at his portfolio, and had a second more successful heart attack. This wasn't a dip. This wasn't a correction. This was a free fall. Okay, stop. Music off. We need to talk about that shady guy in the corner. Remember Mr. Margin, the guy who loaned you 90 bucks so you could become a stock market genius? Yeah, he's on the phone, and he is not happy. Let's go back to our drawing board. This is the second O moment. This is the margin call. You, our little stick figure, are staring at the ticker tape in horror. Your Dog Hats Incorporated stock, which you bought for $100, has just collapsed. It's now only worth $50. You're sad. You lost half your investment, but then the phone rings. It's Mr. Margin, and he says, "Hey kid, remember that 90 bucks I loaned you? I don't care about dog hats. I don't care about your feelings. I want my $90 back. Right now. Today." You panic. But but the stock is only worth 50. I don't care, give me $90. So you are forced to sell your stock for $50 and you hand it over, but you still owe him $40. You have to reach into your own pocket, pull out the $40 you didn't invest, and give it to him. Let's rewind that. You started with $10. You didn't just lose your $10. You now owe an extra $40 that you never even had. You are not just broke. You are negative broke. You are negative $40. Now, multiply that tiny personal soul-crushing tragedy by millions of people. Your barber, your butcher, your boss, all at the exact same time. That was Black Tuesday. It was a financial apocalypse. $14 billion gone. $200 billion in today's money just evaporated. It wasn't monopoly money. It was real homes, real savings, real college funds. It was the entire country's retirement plan, and it had just been shredded. Outside the stock exchange, the crowds weren't rioting. They were silent. They just stared. They were trying to understand how the greatest party in the world had suddenly violently turned into a crime scene. And in the middle of the floor, Roaring Rick, the economy, was lying face down in a puddle of his own spilled champagne. He wasn't roaring anymore. He wasn't even breathing. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it got so much worse. The crash wasn't the end. It was just the first domino. See, you might be sitting there thinking, phew, glad I'm not one of those idiot gamblers. I don't play the stock market. My money is safe. It's in the bank. Oh, you sweet, naive summer child. Let's talk about the bank. Meet Mr. Bank. He's a very distinguished gentleman. He looks solid, trustworthy. His vest is literally made of marble. He's got oak desks and giant pillars. He speaks in a low, comforting voice and assures you that your life savings are as good as gold. He is the adult in the room. While Roaring Rick was partying and Mr. Market was screaming, Mr. Bank was just there, solid, dependable, or so you thought. You want to know a secret? You want to know who the real Mr. Margin was? That's right. Mr. Bank was the loan shark. He wasn't just watching the party, he was the one spiking the punch. Where do you think all that money for the margin loans came from? It came from your savings account. Mr. Bank was taking your hard-earned $10 and lending it to your barber so he could buy Dog Hats Incorporated. And even worse, Mr. Bank was gambling with your money himself. So when Mr. Market face-planted, all those margin loans, poof. All those safe bank investments, poof. Mr. Bank looks down at his balance sheet and realizes he's completely broke. That marble vest, it cracks open. And inside, there's nothing. Just a pile of worthless IOUs and a skeleton. And now, for moment number 3, the bank run. Stop. We need to talk about how a bank actually works because it's not what you think. You think a bank is a piggy bank, a big safe box where you put your money and it just sits there. That is wrong. A bank is a business. Their business is dead. Here's the simple version. 10 stick figures, including you, each deposit $10 into Mr. Bank. Mr. Bank now has $100. Does he put that $100 in a vault? No. He keeps maybe $10 just in case someone needs quick cash. The other $90. He lends it out to this other stick figure, Bob Hamai, who wants to buy a house. So Bob gets the $90 and buys a house. This is called fractional reserve banking. It's how the whole system works. And it's fine, as long as everyone stays calm. But what happens when you hear that Mr. Market just exploded and you hear a rumor that your neighbor Joe went to the bank and they couldn't give him his money? You get scared. You run to the bank, but here's the problem. All 10 of you run to the bank at the exact same time. You all line up screaming, "I want my $10, give me my $10. Mr. Bank looks at the line, he looks at his vault. He has $10. He gives it to the first person in line. Here you go, sir, everything is fine. The first person is safe. But what about the other 9 of you? What about your $10? It's gone. It's not in the vault, it's in Bob's house. And Mr. Bank can't just repossess and sell Bob's house in the next 5 minutes. So he does the only thing he can do. He locks the doors. That's a bank run. It wasn't just one bank, it was thousands. Crowds of perfectly normal, terrified people banging on locked marble doors, screaming for the money that just wasn't there. Grandma's retirement fund gone. Your entire family's savings gone. Little Timmy's college fund. Well, at least he doesn't have to worry about student loans anymore. This was the great contagion. The margin calls killed the investors. The bank failures killed the savers. And the disaster didn't stop at the border. America, now bruised, broke, and desperate, remembered it had loaned a ton of money to Europe after World War I. So America picks up the phone. Hey, Europe, you know all that money we loaned you, we need it back. Like right now. Europe, which was already a skinny, sickly guy held together with duct tape and optimism, just collapsed. Germany's fragile economy vaporized. Britain stumbled. Global trade, that giant, beautiful pipe that sends goods all over the world, it choked, clogged, and shrunk by more than half. This wasn't a you problem. This wasn't a Wall Street problem. This was now an everyone problem. And the horrifying thing was, this still wasn't the bottom. This was just the second domino. The real darkness was yet to come. If the party was a loud, chaotic high, this was the silent, crushing low. The music was gone, the lights were out, and what came next wasn't silence. It was the sound of factories grinding to a halt. Unemployment hit 25%. That's not just a statistic. That's 1 in every 4 people. Look at 4 people you know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now erase one of them. 1 in every 4 Americans who wanted to work, who needed to work, could not find a job. The great industrial machines of Detroit, the ones that built the Roaring '20s, they just stopped. The men who once built the American dream now just stood outside the locked factory gates waiting for what they didn't even know. In the cities, the laughter was gone. It was replaced by lines. Endless, quiet, shuffling lines. Lines for a single bowl of thin soup. Lines for a piece of bread. Mothers lined up at dawn hoping to get something, anything, before it ran out. Teachers reported students fainting in class, not from boredom, from hunger. They hadn't eaten in days. America wasn't metaphorically starving. It was literally starving. And as people lost their homes, they built new ones out of scrap wood, cardboard, and tin. In the shadows of the empty skyscrapers, they built shantytowns. They called them Hoovervilles. Empty pockets turned inside out. Those were Hoover flags. Newspapers used as blankets to fight the cold, Hoover blankets. And just when it seemed that humanity had inflicted every possible misery upon itself, the sky turned black. In the Great Plains, decades of aggressive farming had stripped the land bare, killing the soil. And Mother Nature, who had been watching silently, well, now she was angry. Oh, you think you can destroy my land and get away with it? Fine, eat dust. The rain stopped. The soil cracked. And then the winds came. They weren't just dust storms. They were black blizzards. Towering, choking, million-ton clouds of black dust that rolled across the heartland and blotted out the sun. At noon, it buried farms. It suffocated livestock. It filled houses, coating families as they slept, choking their lungs. Millions fled, packing everything they owned into broken-down cars, chasing a rumor of a place called California. This was the bottom. Or almost. Summer 1932. Thousands of World War I veterans, men who had charged machine guns in France. They had been promised a bonus for their service, to be paid in 1945. But their families were starving now. So they marched on Washington. A bonus army of forgotten heroes. They built a peaceful camp near the Capitol, and they waited. Congress said no. President Hoover said no. And then the army came. Their army. General Douglas MacArthur with tanks, cavalry, and tear gas. They were ordered to clear the camp. Tear gas canisters exploded among the tents. Families fled into the smoke. The camps were burned to the ground. The United States government had turned its weapons on its own veterans. This was the moment. This is when America wasn't just broke, it was broken. When a country is this broken, it doesn't just need a new policy, it needs a new doctor. In March 1933, America got one. Meet Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR. He's a stick figure in a wheelchair, but he's got this giant infectious grin and... Wait, is that a superhero cape? He rolls up to the podium. The entire country, starving, broken, and terrified, leans in to listen. And he says it, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. It wasn't just a speech, it was the first deep breath the country had taken in 4 years. And unlike the last guy, FDR didn't just talk, he acted. He saw America as a patient lying on the operating table bleeding out. So he pulled out a giant syringe of, well, stuff. He called it the New Deal, and he started giving injections. The first shot, jobs, it was called the CCC and the WPA. The plan was beautifully simple, get people to do something, anything. All right, people, listen up. We're going to pay you to, plant a tree. Fantastic. And you're going to build a bridge. Excellent. And you over there, I want you to dig a hole. A hole, sir. Yes, a hole. And when you're done, we're going to pay that guy to fill it back in. It sounded insane, but it worked. It wasn't just about the paycheck, though. The paycheck saved lives. It was about pride. The hands that had been desperately held out in a soup line were now busy. They were building the roads, the bridges, the post offices, and the national parks that we still use today. They were building America. The second shot, relief. It was called the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. FDR looked at entire states in the rural South that were still living in the dark like it was 1750, and he basically said, let there be light. They built massive dams, hydroelectric power, and for the first time, millions of American families flipped a switch, and a light bulb just turned on. The patient America was starting to stir. The color was coming back. But FDR knew you can't just treat the symptoms. You have to cure the disease. You have to make sure this nightmare, this party, this crash, this entire avoidable catastrophe never ever happens again. Okay, stop. This is it. This is moment number 4. This is the big one. This is the legacy. FDR knew that Roaring Rick's party was fun, but it was an unsupervised teenage rager. The party needed rules. It needed chaperones. So, he created them. He created financial superheroes. First, he created the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Think of him as the new sheriff of Wall Street. He's a superhero with a giant magnifying glass and a rule book. His job to stand right next to that sleazy salesman, Mr. Market. If Mr. Market tries to sell you a Dog Hats Incorporated stock that's actually just an empty box full of his own IOUs, the SEC steps in and punches him in the face. He forces companies to actually tell the truth about how much money they're making. It's the no more BS rule. But the second hero, this was the masterpiece. He created the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This guy is a superhero with a giant indestructible shield. His entire job is to stand right in front of that skeletal, untrustworthy Mr. Bank. The FDIC made a simple, powerful promise to every single American. He pointed at that shady banker and said, listen, if this idiot right here, if he takes your life savings and gambles it all away on dog hats, if he fails, if he goes broke, do not panic, because the United States government, will pay you back. Today, that guarantee is up to $250,000. And that, right there, that is why we do not have bank runs anymore. That is why you can put your paycheck in the bank and go to sleep, without ever worrying that it's going to evaporate because your banker decided to play genius. They didn't just fix the economy, they fixed trust. And that was the real cure. So America stood back up. He was bruised, he was humbled, but he was stronger. He was even lifting weights. And behind him, his new bodyguards, the SEC and the FDIC, were standing watch. The Great Depression didn't just end. It fundamentally reshaped capitalism. It taught us a simple lesson: Mr. Market is a fantastic engine for growth, but he needs a babysitter. America was finally ready to move on. Oh, but wait, do you hear that noise coming from Europe? Oh, just simple, right?